The stars of Sector 91 burned quietly, far from the busy routes of the Galactic Union. No one came here anymore. The place was dead, or so everyone believed, until the signal came. It started as a faint pulse, repeating every 20 seconds. It was old, weak and full of static, but the pattern was unmistakable. Someone, or something, was sending human code. 300 years had passed since the fall of Earth. Most believed the humans had destroyed themselves in their final wars. The few who remembered them described a violent, clever and unpredictable species. But now, an ancient human distress call echoed from a forgotten edge of the galaxy. At the Galactic Deep Space Station Eleron, a young technician named Kelry noticed it first. She frowned as her console blinked with strange blue letters. Signal detected. Source unknown. Code type, human Terran origin. Her heart skipped. Human? That couldn't be real. She called her superior, Commander Threx, an old warrior who once fought in the human wars centuries ago. Threx's 4 black eyes narrowed as he saw the data. The code was real. It matched the patterns he had seen when human missiles once darkened the skies of his homeworld. Where did this come from? He demanded. Outer rim near the Grath Nebula, Kelry replied. The coordinates show an empty sector. Threx's claws tapped the console slowly. Nothing is empty, not when humans are involved. He ordered a probe to be sent. A small silver drone jumped into faster-than-light travel toward the signal. Minutes passed. The station waited in silence. Then the feed went dead. No explosion, no warning, just static. Rumors spread through the station like wildfire. Some said the humans had returned. Others believed it was just an old satellite lost in time. But Threx didn't believe in coincidences. He remembered how humanity fought, not with strength, but with traps, tricks, and perfect timing. They never attacked first, he whispered to himself. They made you attack, and then they made you regret it. He called for an emergency meeting with the Galactic Council. Within hours, 12 alien leaders appeared in shimmering holograms above the room. Threx explained the signal, the probe's disappearance, and the strange coordinates. Most council members laughed. Humans. Impossible, said the Glan representative, his voice buzzing like broken glass. Their homeworld was ashes before I was born. Perhaps it's a leftover machine, added another. No reason to panic, but Threx stood firm. If that signal is truly human, then it is not an accident. It is a warning. Meanwhile, far beyond the Council's reach, inside the collapsing clouds of the Grath Nebula, a silent ship drifted in the dark. It was massive, black as night, covered in battle scars. No signal came from it, no light escaped its hull. The ship was called the Ark Horizon, and it was the last human vessel in existence. Inside, dim lights flickered across steel corridors. Only a few hundred humans remained aboard, living in deep silence. Generations had passed since the fall of Earth. Their ancestors had sworn to survive, no matter how long it took. In the command chamber stood Captain Mira Vance, the last in a long line of commanders who had kept the Ark alive. She watched the galaxy map on the screen, a faint red dot showing the alien station that had just detected their beacon. Her second officer, a quiet man named Jonas Reed, turned to her. "They've found the signal, Captain." "I know," Mira said calmly. Her voice carried both strength and sadness. "That's exactly what we wanted," Jonas frowned. "So this is the start?" Mira nodded. "Yes, they think they found us. But really, they just walked into the first layer of the trap. Deep in the ship's AI core, an old voice spoke, cold, calm, and human in tone. "Captain Vance, signal trap sequence 1 complete. The galactic probe has been neutralized. Would you like to proceed with Phase 2? Mira smiled slightly. "Not yet, Halcyon. Let them think they are in control." She looked through the viewing glass, where the nebula's red and blue clouds shimmered like fire and smoke. 300 years, she whispered. "They called us extinct. Now they will remember why they feared us." Back at the council, panic grew. Every hour, the mysterious signal grew stronger, like it was responding to their curiosity. Dozens of ships sent to investigate never returned. The few that came back had no data, only damaged memories and blank logs. Threx stood before the council again, his voice hard and urgent. "Stop sending ships. You're feeding the trap." But they ignored him. The council believed Threx was just an old soldier chasing ghosts. They ordered a full investigation fleet, 50 warships, to search the nebula and find the source once and for all. When Threx heard the news, he closed his eyes. "You fools! You have no idea what waits for you." Inside the Ark, humans prepared silently. Engineers checked the hidden mines. Pilots tested the stealth drones. Old weapons, relics of a dead civilization, came back to life. Jonas looked at the flickering screen, showing the alien fleet on its way. "That's a lot of ships, Captain. Do you think we can stop them?" Mira didn't answer right away. She stared at the hologram of Earth, projected on the bridge wall. The blue planet that once was home. "We don't need to stop them," she said finally. "We just need to make them remember us." Halcyon's voice returned. "Enemy fleet approaching. Estimated contact in 12 hours. Mira turned to her crew. "Good, let them come closer. When they reach the beacon's heart, we'll show them what humanity learned in the dark." Outside, the nebula stirred. Lightning arced between clouds of gas. The beacon pulsed again, brighter this time, echoing across light years. Every race in the galaxy heard it, and somewhere deep in their minds, they all felt the same thing, the fear, because no one, not even the oldest among them, could forget the stories of the humans, the clever, dangerous species that refused to die, and now their signal was calling again. The last human ship had awakened. The Galactic Council's grand chamber was never quiet. It was a place of constant argument, where hundreds of alien voices shouted across the great marble floor, each believing they knew best. But today, even the loudest fell silent. A single hologram glowed at the center, the human signal pulsing like a heartbeat. Every 20 seconds it flashed once, steady, unchanging. It was not random. It was a message. 3 days, Admiral Threx said, his deep voice echoing through the hall. 3 days since our probe vanished. 4 scout ships have gone dark, each near the same coordinates. The councillors shifted nervously. A tall insectoid leader from the Vex species clicked her mandibles. "Perhaps it is a malfunction." 4 ships do not malfunction in the same place, Threx growled. "Something is there. Something alive." An amphibian diplomat raised a trembling fin. "You mean humans?" The word hung in the air like poison, the council chamber filled with murmurs. Impossible. They died long ago. No one could survive that long. But Threx stood firm. His 4 black eyes looked across the room. "You all think they're extinct because you wanted them to be. You remember how they fought, how they turned planets into fire just to win." He pointed at the hologram. "This code is human. It's an SOS, the same kind they used before every major strike." Council Leader Vorga leaned forward, his smooth silver face unreadable. "You're suggesting they are alive, and that this signal is a trap?" Threx nodded. "Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying." Vorga laughed quietly. "You give too much credit to ghosts." Across the galaxy, news of the human signal spread fast. Civilian ships avoided the Grath Nebula. Some merchants swore they saw a giant shadow moving inside it, a ship too old, too large, to belong to any modern fleet. Fear grew. Old veterans who had once fought humans began to speak again. They remembered how humans never played fair, how they tricked armies into fighting shadows, how they used silence as their weapon. One old miner whispered in a bar, "If it's humans, we're all dead." They don't forget. Back in the council, the debate grew fierce. Vorga slammed his silver fist. "I will not waste our fleet chasing legends." "Send more probes." Threx shook his head. "Every probe dies. Don't you see? The more we send, the more they learn. They're watching us." The room fell quiet again. The thought was chilling. What if they're baiting us? Said Kelry, the young technician who first found the signal. Her voice was small but brave. "Maybe they want us to come closer." The council stared at her. Few dared to speak to the High Council that way. But Threx nodded proudly. "The child understands more than the council does. That's exactly what humans do. They lure you in, make you think you're in control, but Vorga refused to listen. He turned to his generals. Prepare a fleet, 50 ships. They will find the source and destroy it. Threx's eyes widened. You fool. That's what they want. The council has spoken, Vorga interrupted coldly. You will not stop us with your ghost stories. Threx could only watch as the holographic image of the fleet launched, hundreds of bright blue lights scattering into the darkness toward the nebula. He sighed deeply. You're walking into their jaws. Far away, hidden within the dying nebula, Captain Mira Vance of the Ark Horizon watched the alien transmissions. The ship's AI, Halcyon, projected the enemy movements in glowing red dots across the bridge. 50 ships entering the outer nebula, Captain, Halcyon reported. Time to contact, 20 hours. Jonas Reed stood beside Mira, shaking his head. They're coming right at us. Just like you predicted, Mira smiled slightly. They think they're hunters, but they're walking straight into our net. In the ship's lower decks, human engineers worked in silence. They moved among ancient machines, reconnecting cables and reactivating reactors that hadn't run in centuries. Blue light spread through the corridors. As old Terran technology came back to life, they had been waiting for this moment, the day when the galaxy would finally notice them. Again, Mira walked through the maintenance bay, watching the crew. Men and women with tired faces but steady eyes looked up as she passed. They were descendants of survivors, people who had grown up hearing stories of Earth, of oceans and skies, and a burning homeworld they never saw. She spoke quietly but firmly. Remember what we fight for. We're not ghosts. We're humanity's last voice, and we're going to make them hear us. Back on the bridge, Halcyon's voice broke the silence. Captain, message from the Council's fleet. They are broadcasting on all channels. Play it, Mira ordered. A deep alien voice filled the bridge. Vorga himself. To the unknown source of this signal. You are in violation of galactic law. Identify yourself or be destroyed. Mira chuckled softly. Typical. They never change. Jonas raised an eyebrow. Should we answer? Not yet, she said. Let them feel the silence. Fear grows faster when no one talks. Halcyon's screen flickered as it calculated the enemy's next move. They will enter the primary trap zone in 10 hours, Captain. Mira looked out at the swirling clouds of the nebula, glowing red and blue like fire. Then it begins, she whispered. On the alien command ship, Admiral Threx watched the fleet's progress with dread. Every instinct in him screamed to turn back. The nebula's gravity fields twisted unnaturally, and the sensor data made no sense. False readings, phantom ships, disappearing signals. He turned to his officer. Call the fleet back. Council's orders forbid it, the officer replied. They say humans are myths. Threx clenched his fists. Then they'll learn the truth the hard way. He looked out into the dark void and muttered to himself, humans don't die. They wait. In the shadows of the nebula, the Ark Horizon waited too. Its engines hummed softly, its weapons armed but silent. The trap was ready, and as the alien fleet drew closer, the humans aboard whispered an old saying from Earth's past, one passed down through generations. The stars forgot us. But we never forgot the stars. The alien fleet entered the Grath Nebula like hunters entering a dark forest. 50 warships, shields active, scanners at full range. Yet the deeper they went, the less they could see. The nebula swallowed light. Electric storms danced across their hulls. Radio signals bent and echoed strangely, like whispers in a cave. At first, everything seemed quiet. Too quiet. On board the command ship Valos Prime, Admiral Threx stared at the mist-covered screens. Report, he ordered. Navigation is unstable, sir, his officer replied. Sensors keep resetting. It's like the nebula itself is alive. Threx's jaw tightened. Alive or not, stay alert. Humans love places like this. The younger officers exchanged nervous looks. Most of them had never seen a human, only heard stories. Some didn't believe the stories were real. But soon they would. Far away, hidden behind the nebula's storms, the Ark Horizon drifted silently. Its dark hull reflected nothing. Its engines were cold. Even light itself seemed afraid to touch it. Captain Mira Vance stood at the viewing platform, her arms crossed. Through the fog, she could see faint flashes, the alien fleet's engines burning bright in the dark. Her second officer, Jonas Reed, joined her. "They've entered the field," he said. Mira gave a slow nod. "Good. Time to begin the first strike." Halcyon's voice filled the bridge. Phase 1. Ghost protocol activated. Across the Ark, old drones began to awaken. They were small, sleek machines, black triangles built during Earth's final wars. They had no pilots. They needed none. Hundreds of them detached from the Ark's belly, disappearing into the clouds like shadows. Jonas watched the radar as the drones spread out. "Do you think they'll notice?" Mira smiled faintly. "They will. But by the time they do, it'll be too late." Minutes later, the alien ship Nerath 5 reported something strange. "Admiral, we're picking up movement, small signatures all around us." Threx turned sharply. "Ships. Unclear, there, flickering in and out, like ghosts." Then the lights on the Nerath 5 began to die. One by one, its systems went dark. Before anyone could react, the ship vanished from the fleet's scanners. "Where did it go?" shouted an officer. No answer came, only static. Across the fleet, panic started to spread. 2 more ships lost contact, then 3, then 5. One commander screamed over the comms, "They're inside the nebula! We can't lock on! They're invisible!" Threx slammed his clawed hand on the console. "Form a perimeter. Link shields. Keep your formation tight." But the nebula itself began to twist. Gravity fields shifted. Ships drifted off course, colliding into the electric storms that tore through the gas clouds. Everywhere, small flashes appeared, silent explosions in the fog. Inside the Ark, Halcyon reported calmly, 6 enemy ships neutralized. No signal detected. "They believe it is a natural phenomenon." Mira nodded. "Good. Keep the pattern random. Make them think the nebula is killing them." Jonas frowned. "Captain, what if they figure it out?" "They won't," she said softly. "They're too afraid to think clearly. That's our weapon." She looked out again at the swirling chaos. Fear always blinds the enemy first. On Valos Prime, Threx could feel the tension. His crew whispered among themselves, old stories of the humans' ghost fleets that struck from nowhere, killed silently, then disappeared. He growled, "Enough of this fear. Humans are gone. They cannot." Suddenly his screens lit up. A shadow moved past the ship, huge, slow and silent, too large to be a drone. For a brief second, it appeared through the nebula, a massive black shape with glowing blue lines along its hull. It was ancient. Terran. "The Ark," Threx whispered in horror. "They're real." The shadow vanished again before his weapons could lock. He turned to his officers. "Pull the fleet back, now!" "But sir, the Council's orders—" "Forget the Council!" Threx roared. "If that ship is what I think it is, we're all in danger." Before his ship could move, a blinding pulse hit the fleet. Every system flickered. Weapons died. Shields collapsed. In the middle of the chaos, Halcyon spoke inside the Ark Horizon. "Pulse cannon test successful. Enemy systems offline. Total losses, 12 ships." Mira stood calm. "Now they'll believe the nebula is cursed." Across alien space, transmissions filled the airwaves. "Our ships are vanishing. The nebula eats them alive. No one go near Sector 91. Fear spread faster than light. Civilian ships refused to enter the region. Military fleets stayed away. The Galactic Council demanded answers. Vorga shouted for data, for proof, for calm. But the more he shouted, the less anyone listened. Some of his own officers began to whisper. What if Threx was right? What if the humans are back? Back in the Ark's bridge, Jonas looked at Mira. "They're terrified. Every channel out there is panic." "Good," Mira said quietly. "We need them afraid." Afraid means predictable. Predictable means easy to trap. Halcyon's core pulsed gently. "Captain, enemy fleet retreating from primary zone. Estimated time to withdrawal, 3 hours." Mira nodded slowly. "Perfect. Let them run. They'll bring reinforcements next time. That's when we finish it." She turned to the crew. "Begin power restoration. Refill the mines. We're not done yet." In the council chamber, Admiral Threx appeared before the furious leaders. Vorga pointed at him. "You disobeyed orders. You retreated." Threx glared. If I hadn't, you'd have no fleet left. We face something old, human design, Terran strategy. Lies! Shouted one counselor. Threx slammed a metallic fist against the table. And then explain this. He projected the blurry image of a massive dark ship recorded just before the pulse attack. The room went silent. The shape was unmistakable. The last human ship, Threx said coldly. It's not a myth. It's waiting for us. That night, across every world of the Galactic Union, fear returned. Fear that had not been felt in centuries. Parents told their children to stay away from the windows. Soldiers checked their weapons twice. Somewhere deep in the nebula, hidden beneath clouds and storms, the Ark Horizon waited. Its engines slept. Its crew whispered prayers, and Captain Mira Vance stood alone on the bridge, staring at the stars beyond the fog. They think it's over, she said softly. But the trap hasn't even begun, Halcyon's voice replied in the darkness. Phase 2, ready, Captain. Mira smiled. Then prepare the bait. The nebula burned with slow-moving lightning as the last human ship drifted in silence, its hull black as the void, its crew preparing for the next phase of their plan. They had waited for this moment for generations. And now it was finally here. Captain Mira Vance stood on the bridge of the Ark Horizon, her eyes fixed on the glowing map ahead. Red dots marked the alien fleets regrouping far beyond the nebula. Their movements were cautious. Nervous, uncertain, they had lost ships. They had seen shadows, and they feared what they could not understand. Jonas Reed walked beside her, his voice calm but heavy. They will come back, Captain. You know they will, Mira nodded slowly, the faint light reflecting in her eyes. Yes, Jonas, they cannot help themselves. They are curious, proud and foolish, and curiosity is a weapon we can use. The AI Halcyon spoke from the center console, its blue light pulsing gently through the misty air. All ghost drones have returned. Stealth mines are armed. Power reserves at 87%. Phase 2 ready for activation. Mira gave a small smile. Then it's time to give them something to chase. Far away, the Galactic Council met again in their shining chamber of mirrors and glass. The atmosphere was tense, filled with whispers of fear. The images of destroyed fleets played on the massive screens above them. One after another, each ship lost without trace. Council leader Vorga slammed his hand on the table, his silver skin gleaming under the cold lights. This cannot continue. We are the most powerful alliance in the galaxy, and we are being hunted by ghosts. Admiral Threx stood apart from the others, his expression unreadable. Not ghosts, leader, humans, the same humans your ancestors tried to erase, and they remember everything. The room buzzed with disbelief, anger, and doubt. Voices overlapped. Some shouted for attack, others demanded retreat. But finally, Vorga raised his voice above them all. We will not hide. We will find this ship and end the legend of humanity once and for all. Within hours, orders spread across the fleets. Hundreds of new ships began to gather, massive carriers, destroyers and scouts, forming the largest armada since the human wars. Every race contributed their strongest forces, confident that numbers would crush whatever haunted them. Threx watched the preparations with quiet dread. He knew how humans thought. They never fought fair. And if this really was the last human ship, then this much power would only feed the trap. He tried to warn the Council again. You are walking into their hands. The nebula is their weapon, not yours. You cannot fight what you cannot see. But Vorga ignored him. Fear has blinded you, Admiral. The humans are extinct. This is only malfunctioning human debris. Threx turned away, whispering, Then the debris will bury you all. Deep inside the Grath Nebula, the Ark Horizon began to move again, slowly drifting toward a dead planet hidden within the gas clouds, a world of rock and silence, its surface cracked and lifeless, once used by mining ships centuries ago, now forgotten by all. Mira stood on the bridge, staring at it through the glass. This will be our bait, she said softly. We'll make them think survivors are hiding here, that they finally found what they've been chasing." Jonas looked uneasy. "And when they come, then they enter the cage." Mira replied. Halcyon's voice filled the air, calm and precise. "Deploying false transmissions, broadcasting distress calls on human frequencies, adding civilian chatter to enhance realism. Screens lit up across the nebula, sending fake human signals, weak voices, broken cries for help, coordinates that pointed straight to the dead planet." Jonas smiled faintly. "It's cruel." Mira looked at him. "It's necessary. We didn't survive this long by being kind." Hours later, far across the void, alien sensors picked up the false signals. Commanders shouted in disbelief. Human voices detected, multiple life signs. "It's them. They're trapped on that world." The Council's fleets changed course immediately. Every ship turned toward the dead planet, their engines blazing bright, convinced they were closing in on the last humans on the bridge of Valus Prime. Threx's heart sank as he saw the new coordinates. "No, no, not there. That planet is right in the center of the gravity well. It's too perfect, too easy." He called the fleet commanders. "Do not approach, it's bait, it's all bait." But no one listened. Pride and vengeance had blinded them all. Back in the Ark, Halcyon's voice echoed through the bridge. "Enemy fleet has entered approach vector. Estimated contact in 3 hours." Mira's crew worked in silence, tightening belts, checking weapons, monitoring power levels. Every heartbeat matched the rhythm of the growing tension. Jonas looked at Mira. "Do we strike first?" Mira shook her head. "No, not yet. We let them believe they've won. We let them come close, and when they fire, the trap closes by itself." Halcyon spoke again. "Magnetic mines calibrated, solar pulse nets online, gravitic distortion ready for detonation." Mira took a deep breath, her voice steady and cold. "When the first ship enters orbit, trigger the storm." The alien fleet arrived like thunder, hundreds of ships surrounding the small planet, scanning for humans, sending landing parties, broadcasting victory messages across the stars. They believed the war was over before it even began. And then everything changed. The planet's crust began to glow red. Magnetic fields spiked wildly. The nebula around them turned into a sea of fire. Their engines screamed as the gravity shifted, pulling them downward. Panic filled every frequency. "We're caught in the field. Our drives are collapsing. It's not a planet. It's a trap." Mira watched it all in silence, her face calm, her eyes bright with reflection of the burning nebula. "They never learn," she said softly. Halcyon's lights pulsed once. "Trap sequence complete. Enemy losses. 34 confirmed. Remaining fleet in disarray." Jonas turned to her, voice low. "Captain, they'll never forgive this." "They already didn't." She answered. The surviving ships tried to flee. The human signal broadcast again, louder and clearer than ever before, a simple message across every channel, every system, every world: humanity endures. And then silence returned, deep and endless, leaving the galaxy with a single terrifying truth: the humans were not gone, they were waiting. The alien armada entered the nebula with pride and power. Their ships moved in perfect formation, shining with blue light that cut through the gas. In clouds, the commanders believed this would be the day the human myth finally ended. They did not know they were flying into a graveyard built for them. Inside the Ark Horizon, the humans watched the sensors. Every screen showed hundreds of enemy signals. Closing in, Captain Mira Vance stood at the center of the command deck. Her hands were steady, her voice calm. She said, "The moment they cross the line, Halcyon, activate the field. No mercy, no delay." Halcyon, the ship's AI, spoke in its deep, metallic tone. Trap sequence armed, waiting for confirmation. The crew was silent. The sound of breathing and soft beeps of machines filled the air. Outside, the nebula began to shift. The gas started to move like a storm around the alien fleet. The temperature dropped and the light faded. The aliens thought it was just a reaction to their engines. They were wrong. One alien officer shouted from his console, "Admiral Threx, energy spikes ahead, unknown readings. Something is building around us." Threx turned to his crew. His old scars burned with fear. He had seen this kind of silence before. He said, "Turn the fleet around, now," but it was too late. The Ark Horizon released the trapped massive magnetic mines hidden inside the nebula, came alive. The invisible field of energy snapped around the fleet. Engines flickered and failed. The ships lost control. Gravity inside the dying star's pull grabbed them one by one. Explosions flashed across the darkness. Alien ships smashed into each other. Fire spread in long ribbons of light through the chaos. Threx realized the truth. He shouted, "It's them, it's humanity. They never died. They waited for this." On the Ark Horizon, Halcyon announced, "Enemy fleet collapsing on all fronts." Mira gave her order, "Send the signal." The Ark decloaked, its massive hull emerging from the storm of fire and debris. Its steel surface carried the old Earth flag, worn and burned, but still shining. The alien ships turned their weapons toward the human vessel, but none could fire there. Targeting systems were jammed by ancient human code, the same code they had once laughed at as primitive. Now it controlled their fate. Mira spoke to her crew. Her voice carried both sorrow and pride. They wanted to erase us from history. Let them remember. This day, forever. The crew watched as the alien armada broke apart piece by piece. Threx's flagship was caught in the magnetic storm. His second officer begged for escape, but the admiral stayed. He stared at the human ship and whispered, "You outsmarted us again." He closed his eyes as his ship was torn apart by the collapsing gravity. In the silence that followed, the nebula began to glow red. The dying star inside reached its final moment. Halcyon spoke. "Captain, the energy field is unstable. Recommend immediate withdrawal." Mira nodded. "Bring us out full power." The Ark Horizon's engines roared to life, cutting through the chaos. The human ship escaped the collapsing field just as the dying star exploded behind them. The shockwave chased them across, the stars turning everything into light. When the light faded, the alien armada was gone. Only wreckage and drifting shadows remained. The trap had done its work perfectly. On the bridge, Mira watched the display change from red to calm blue. She felt the weight of victory, but also the cost of survival. Halcyon reported enemy fleet destroyed with 99% certainty. No human casualties. Mira stood silent for a moment, then said, "Send the transmission to all sectors of space. Let them know." "What happened here today?" Halcyon replied. "Message prepared for broadcast, Captain." She said, "Begin." The image of the burning nebula spread across communication channels across the galaxy. Billions of aliens saw the destruction of their fleet and the return of the human flag in the center of it. Across distant worlds, fear took root. The name humanity, once forgotten, returned as a warning whispered in every language. The Ark Horizon drifted through the remains of battle. The crew stood proud yet quiet. They knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy now knew the truth. Halcyon broke the silence, transmission complete. Captain Mira looked out into the endless dark and said softly, "They wanted extinction. We gave them memory. Now the stars will. Remember who we are." The Ark Horizon turned away from the burning light and vanished into deep space. The trap had sprung. The legend of the last human ship had begun. The Ark Horizon moved silently through the edge of the dying nebula, the stars around. It burned faintly as if afraid of what had just happened. The human crew stood together, watching the wreckage fade into the dark. They had done the impossible. They had defeated an armada with one ship and an old plan born from desperation. Captain Mira Vance stood in front of the main screen. Her reflection shone against the light of the ruined battlefield. Her voice was calm, but carried the weight of centuries of pain. "Halcyon," she said, "prepare the transmission. All frequencies, all channels." Halcyon's voice echoed. "Through the bridge transmission system ready, Captain." The crew waited in silence. The hum of the engines was the only sound. The faces of the crew showed no joy, only determination. They knew this message was not for victory. It was for memory. Mira began to speak to the stars, to every race that thought humanity was gone. Her words were simple and strong. "Humanity never vanished. We endured. We remember every world you burned, every life you erased. You built your empires on our ashes. Now you will remember us." Across galaxies, the message broke through every communication line. Every world that once fought against Earth heard her voice. The signal was unstoppable. It carried old human code mixed with the sound of the explosion that destroyed the alien fleet. It was both a warning and a promise. In alien cities, people stopped and listened. Traders froze in markets. Soldiers dropped their weapons. Leaders turned pale. The sound of the human voice carried fear like no weapon could. It reminded them of the one species that refused to die. On the bridge of a surviving alien cruiser, Admiral Threx's last transmission played before his ship was lost. His voice was weak but clear. He said to all listening, "They waited for us, they learned our every move. They became something beyond our understanding. We thought them extinct, but they have returned. They will never stop." "Halcyon," reported Captain. "The signal has reached every sector of known space." Mira nodded. "Good. Let them speak of us again. Let them fear us again." One of her officers, a young man who had been born in space, looked at her and asked, "Captain, what happens now?" Mira turned to him, her eyes tired but bright. "Now we vanish again. We will not become monsters. We will not rule through fear, but they will know that humanity is watching from the dark." Halcyon spoke again. "Incoming transmissions from multiple sources. They are requesting peace." Captain Mira answered, "Ignore them. They do not seek peace. They seek safety. There is a difference." The Ark Horizon continued to travel deeper into space. Its engines burned softly against the darkness. Behind them, the nebula collapsed completely, leaving only a scar in the stars. The place where humanity's revenge had begun, on hundreds of alien worlds. Leaders met in secret rooms. Some wanted to attack again, others wanted to surrender. The smaller races whispered prayers to the memory of humans, hoping they would not be next. The galaxy had changed forever. Inside the Ark Horizon, the crew gathered. In the observatory, they looked out at the stars. Some cried softly, others smiled. For the first time in centuries, they felt free, not safe, but free. Mira joined them. She said, "This message will echo for generations. They will fear to harm another world. Because they will think we are always near. That is enough for now." Halcyon's final report came through. Message complete, transmission strength at maximum. The AI paused, then said, "Captain, shall I erase our location?" "Data," Mira answered. "Yes." Halcyon, "Erase it all. We will not be found again." As the stars passed by the Ark Horizon, seemed to fade into them like a shadow among light. The galaxy would keep hearing the voice of humanity, a ghost signal that refused to die. And somewhere far away on a quiet world, a child looked up at the night sky. A strange sound came from the stars, a human voice whispering through time. Humanity never vanished. We endured. The legend of the last human ship had become the warning of the universe. The galaxy was Never the same. After the message of the Ark Horizon, the voice of Captain Mira Vance echoed through every world and every system. For many races it became a nightmare. For others it became a reminder that power could never erase truth. The name humanity spread again across the stars, carried by fear and awe. On the ruined worlds of the fallen fleet wreckage, drifted through spaceships that once belonged to proud alien empires, now floated lifeless. Their signals were silent, their flags burned. Only one message kept replaying across their broken channels: humanity endures. The Galactic Council met again for the first time since the disaster. The great hall that once echoed with laughter was filled with silence and fear. The surviving admirals stood before the leaders, trying to explain what happened. They spoke of impossible technology, of traps that defied physics, of a single human ship destroying an armada. The council could not believe it, but the evidence was everywhere. Some demanded revenge, others demanded peace. A few whispered that maybe it was time to hide from the stars until the humans were gone. The old stories of Earth returned once more. The story of a species that refused to kneel, that turned extinction into survival far. Beyond their reach, the Ark Horizon traveled through empty space toward the broken remains of Earth. The planet had long been dead, but its ashes still glowed faintly beneath the grey clouds. When the ship arrived, silence filled the bridge. No one spoke for a long time. The crew looked down at the world that once held billions of lives. Captain Mira stood at the front window. Her eyes reflected the shape of the planet that had birthed them. She said softly, "This is where it began, and where it will begin again," Halcyon replied in its calm voice. "Scans show stable ground in several regions. Life could return here." Mira smiled faintly. "Then we will rebuild." The Ark Horizon descended through the clouds. The dust of centuries rose behind it as it landed on the cracked surface. The wind blew softly across the ruins of old cities. The humans stepped out wearing their suits and stood on the soil of Earth for the first time in 300 years. Some fell to their knees, some simply touched the ground, and cried. Mira placed the flag of Earth on a piece of stone that once belonged to a monument. She said quietly, "For every life lost, for every world burned, for every memory they tried to erase, humanity returns in the distance." The ship's scanners picked up a faint signal. It was another human transmission, weak and old, but real. Mira's eyes widened. She ordered Halcyon to trace it. The signal came from deep space, far beyond their maps. Another Ark. Maybe another survivor. The hope in the crew's hearts grew stronger. Halcyon said, "Message is too damaged to read, but origin is human." Mira looked at the stars and said, "Then we are not alone." Across the galaxy, more signals began to appear. Some were faint echoes from lost ships. Some were distress calls. Some were messages from colonies thought destroyed. Humanity was rising again from the shadows. On alien worlds, fear turned into respect and curiosity. Small groups began searching for humans, not to fight, but to learn from them. They spoke of the Ark Horizon as the ship of ghosts and saviors. Mira gathered her crew one last time. She told them the trap saved us, but fear cannot build the future. Our mission now is to find our people and rebuild what we lost. Humanity will not live as shadows anymore. We will walk under the stars again. The Ark Horizon lifted from the ground, leaving a bright trail in the grey sky. The flag of Earth waved behind it, carried by the wind as the ship rose higher and higher from the darkness of space. The ship looked down at the planet below. Halcyon spoke quietly. "Earth is awake again." Captain Mira smiled and said, "Then so is humanity." The ship turned toward the stars where the lost signals waited. The engines burned bright, cutting through the endless night. The legend of the last human ship was no longer just a story. It was the beginning of a new chapter. Across the galaxy, whispers spread. The humans are back, and this time they will not fade. The Ark Horizon disappeared into the deep. Black of space, carrying with it the light of a reborn species, humanity had returned, and the stars themselves would never forget their name again.